Hey everyone! Today we're going to talk about the internet, where we watch cat videos, look up recipes we'll never cook, and more where we face threats to our personal information and safety. And I know talking about cybersecurity might not sound as exciting as, say, watching random videos on Instagram, right? But trust me, this is important. We live in a world where cyber threats are becoming as common as bad dating app profiles. Every day we hear about new data breaches, ransomware attacks, and scams that are becoming more sophisticated and harder to spot. It's enough to make you want to throw your phone in a blender and run off to a remote island with no Wi-Fi. But before you do that, let's break down some of the most urgent dangers lurking in the digital shadows. In this video, you'll gain valuable insights that will arm you with the knowledge you need to navigate this increasingly dangerous landscape. We'll dive into the murky waters of cybercrime, shedding light on the tactics used by these digital crooks and showing you how to protect yourself. Think of it as a self-defense class, but instead of learning how to throw a punch, you're learning how to avoid getting digitally mugged. Let's start with a classic, shall we? Ransomware. It's the digital equivalent of someone breaking into your house, putting all your stuff in a locked vault, and then demanding a hefty payment for the key. And just like that creepy neighbor who always seems to know when you're on vacation, ransomware has been lurking around for a while. The first forms of this digital shakedown popped up in the late 1980s. Back then, it was all floppy disks and snail mail. The first documented case of digital extortion happened in 1971, when two magnetic tapes belonging to a branch of the Bank of America were stolen at Los Angeles International Airport. The thieves demanded a payment to return the tapes, although the ransom was ultimately not paid as backup copies of the data existed. This case marked the beginning of digital extortion, although the modality of threats and digital payments would evolve over time. Later in 1989, one of the first recognized cases of ransomware occurred with the AIDS Trojan, also known as PS Cyborg. This malware, distributed on floppy disks, encrypted the names of files on the computer and asked victims to send $189 to an address in Panama to restore access. This attack is considered a key precursor to modern digital extortion, as it used encryption techniques and ransom demands. It was a much less efficient, almost quaint form of extortion, laying the groundwork for the evolution of ransomware in the decades to come. So as technology advances, so do the methods of these digital pirates. Today's ransomware is slick, sophisticated, and incredibly aggressive. We're talking highly targeted attacks that can cripple entire organizations, from hospitals and schools to government agencies and businesses. Imagine a hospital that can't access its patient records or a city's power grid going dark. This isn't the plot of some dystopian movie, it's the reality of ransomware's devastating impact. These attacks often exploit software vulnerabilities, phishing scams that trick users into clicking malicious links, or even those annoying internet ads that seem to follow you everywhere. Once ransomware worms its way into a system, it encrypts valuable data, holding it hostage until the victim pays a ransom, usually in the form of untraceable cryptocurrency. Now you might be thinking, hey, this sounds scary, but I'm just one person. Surely they're going after bigger fish, right? Wrong. These digital bandits aren't picky, they happily target individuals, small businesses, anyone they think they can squeeze a few bitcoins from. And the consequences on a global scale? Well, they're alarming. We're talking billions of dollars in losses every year, not to mention the erosion of trust in our digital infrastructure. It's a problem that affects us all, and it's only getting worse. But don't despair just yet. We'll be talking about ways to protect yourself later on. Stick around. Next up, we're diving into something called supply chain attacks. Now, before you go picturing pirates hijacking cargo ships full of Amazon Prime packages, let's clear the air. In the digital world, the supply chain refers to the complex network of software, services, and suppliers that businesses rely on to operate. Think of it like this. You're building a house. You wouldn't make every brick and nail yourself, right? Of course not. You rely on suppliers for those materials. Well, businesses do the same thing with software. They often integrate software from other companies into their own systems to handle things like customer data, payment processing, or even internal communication. Now imagine that one of those suppliers, let's say the company that provides your email system, has unknowingly had their software compromised. Suddenly attackers have a backdoor into your systems, like a Trojan horse disguised as a routine software update. That's the sneaky nature of supply chain attacks. They exploit the trust we place in the software we use every day. One of the most famous examples of this was the SolarWinds attack back in 2020. Hackers, believed to be from Russia, managed to get into the systems of SolarWinds, a company that provides IT management software. Through this single entry point, they were able to spread harmful software to thousands of SolarWinds customers, including government agencies and Fortune 500 companies. It was a digital spying campaign of unprecedented scale and sophistication, but supply chain attacks aren't limited to state-sponsored actors. Cybercriminals are increasingly targeting software supply chains to steal data, disrupt operations, and cause chaos. And the consequences can be devastating, not just for businesses, but for everyday consumers like you and me. Remember that time you ordered a pizza online and a week later, you started getting strange emails with offers for discounted anchovies? That, my friends, could be the work of a supply chain attack. The good news is that there are ways to reduce the risks of these attacks, but it requires a team effort from software developers, providers, and users like ourselves. Chapter 3.5. G Vulnerabilities, the Hacker Highway. Now let's talk about something that affects us all, our phones. Specifically, the networks they rely on. 5G, the latest generation of cellular technology, promises super-fast speeds and the ability to connect billions of devices. It's being touted as the key to unlocking a future of self-driving cars, smart cities, and remote surgery. But there's a catch, isn't there always? Along with all its benefits, 5G also introduces new security risks, potentially creating more entry points for those pesky cybercriminals. Picture this. Imagine your home Wi-Fi network. Now imagine connecting 1,000 new devices to that network, from your fridge and thermostat to your toothbrush and dog's collar. Each of those devices represents a potential vulnerability, a way for hackers to sneak into your network. Now, scale that up to a national or even global level, and you start to get a sense of the security challenges posed by 5G. One of the biggest concerns is the sheer complexity of 5G networks. With so many devices and connections, it becomes incredibly difficult to monitor and secure every single access point. It's like trying to herd cats, but the cats are microscopic and they're all hopped up on caffeine. Another concern is the increasing reliance on software in 5G networks. As we've already discussed, software is inherently vulnerable to bugs and flaws which hackers can exploit to access sensitive data or disrupt network operations. And then there's the issue of global security. 5G networks are increasingly interconnected, meaning that a security breach in one part of the world could have ripple effects across the entire globe. It's like a game of digital dominoes, but instead of plastic tiles falling over, it's entire economies and national infrastructures. Now, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but the good news is that these risks are not insurmountable. By implementing strong security measures, promoting international collaboration, and raising awareness among users, we can mitigate the risks and ensure that 5G fulfills its promise of a faster, more connected future. Chapter 4. Social Engineering. Hacking the Human Firewall. For our next trick, we're diving into the world of social engineering, which is a fancy way of saying tricking people into giving up their passwords and personal information. Now, you might be thinking, but I'm not that gullible. I'd never fall for a phishing scam. Well, my friend, that's exactly what they want you to think. You see, social engineering isn't about exploiting technical vulnerabilities, but human weaknesses. It preys on our trust, our helpful nature, and sometimes our plain laziness. These digital con artists are masters of manipulation, crafting emails, text messages, even phone calls that seem so real, so urgent, so convincing that even the most tech-savvy among us can be fooled. Let's say you get an email that appears to be from your bank, informing you of suspicious activity on your account. It instructs you to click on a link and update your login information immediately. Now, your spider sense might be tingling, but the email looks official. It even has the bank's logo, and panic starts to set in. You click the link, enter your information, and bam! Just like that, you've handed over the keys to your digital kingdom. That, my friends, is social engineering at its finest. And it's not just limited to phishing emails. These digital scammers are getting more and more creative with their tactics. They create fake social media profiles, posing as potential romantic partners or long-lost friends, all to gain your trust and extract personal information. They might even impersonate tech support, calling you directly and convincing you to install remote access software on your computer, giving them complete control. And the scariest part? Social engineering attacks are often highly targeted. These digital detectives do their homework, scouring your social media profiles, gathering information about your interests, your family, your work, all to craft the perfect scam, tailor-made just for you. So, how do you protect yourself from these digital charmers? I'll give you 4 key rules to follow to avoid scams. Rule number 1, be wary of the unexpected. If you receive unexpected emails, calls, or messages, especially from unknown senders or entities that don't usually contact you, be suspicious. Rule number 2, verify the source. Never provide personal information, passwords, or financial data without first verifying the authenticity of the requester. Contact the entity directly using official channels, such as phone numbers or email addresses listed on their website. Rule number 3, don't share sensitive information. Never disclose passwords, credit card numbers, or personal information on insecure platforms or in response to unsolicited emails or calls. And the most important rule that everyone overlooks, take care of your social networks. Don't post personal information that scammers could use against you, such as birth dates, addresses, or data that could be answers to security questions. Limit the privacy of your posts and the information you display to the public. With these guidelines, you will minimize the chances of falling for these scams. Chapter 5, Spyware and Popular Apps, the silent listener in your pocket. Okay, let's talk about something a little too close for comfort. Our phones. Specifically, the apps we download and use every day. We use apps for everything these days, from ordering food and booking rides to managing our money and tracking our fitness goals. But what if I told you that some of these apps, even the ones with millions of downloads and glowing reviews, could be hiding a dark secret? Spyware? Before you flush your phone down the toilet in a panic, let's break this down a bit. Spyware is a type of harmful software that works in stealth mode, collecting your personal information without you knowing or agreeing to it. It's like having a creepy stalker living inside your phone, tracking your every move, listening to your conversations, and stealing your secrets. But how does it even get there? Well, sometimes it disguises itself as a legitimate app, lurking in unofficial app stores or even sneaking onto official ones. Other times it hitches a ride with other apps, hiding in plain sight within games or tools that seem harmless. Once it's on your device, spyware can wreak havoc on your digital life. It can steal your passwords, your credit card information, and even track your location in real time. And the worst part? It often operates silently in the background, so you might not even realize you're infected. One of the biggest challenges with spyware is detection. These digital parasites are designed to be stealthy, covering their tracks and blending in with your legitimate apps. And even if you suspect something's wrong, removing spyware can be like trying to catch a greased pig. So, how do you protect yourself from these digital spies? Well, the first line of defense is to be careful about the apps you download. Stick to official app stores, read reviews carefully, and be wary of apps that ask for permissions that seem unnecessary for their function. In conclusion, how to stay safe in a world of digital threats. So, there you have it. A crash course on the 5 most dangerous threats lurking in the digital world. From ransomware that holds your data hostage, to spyware that listens to your every move, these cyber threats are real, they're evolving, and they're coming for you, for me, and for anyone with an internet connection. But before you give up on technology and move to a remote cabin in the woods, remember that knowledge is power. By understanding the tactics used by these digital criminals, we can better protect ourselves and fight back. The digital world is here to stay, and it's up to us to make it a safer place for everyone. Stay informed, stay alert, and remember, in the immortal words of the internet, don't click that link. Thank you for your attention.